Hi, welcome to our discussion of the 2019 Valley incident in Escondido, California. This is a presentation for Miramar College Fire Protection Technology 104, Building Construction Related to the Fire Service, by Skylar F., Justin C., Richard L., and Robert S. In this presentation, we'll discuss the August 2019 incident that resulted in the serious injury of one fire engineer. Crews responded to a fire inside of a dry cleaner and shoe repair shop at a single-story commercial building or strip mall. Shortly after their response, the collapse of an exterior overhang or mansard resulted in the injury of a fire engineer who suffered 2 fractured vertebrae and a fractured ankle prior to extrication. We'll go over some quick details of the incident here. Initial dispatch occurred at 15:18 in the afternoon. Crews arrived on scene to find heavy smoke and fire conditions present upon their arrival, with self-venting through the roof of the building. They activated a second alarm, stretched initial hose lays, and operated in an offensive fashion. The second alarm arrived on scene, and one crew was assigned to make access to a man door on the Bravo side of the building. Shortly after, there was a partial collapse of the mansard part of the roof and entrapment of one firefighter.
All right, now we're going to start talking about the dry cleaner building. So right here in this image, this isn't the exact dry cleaner of the fire in Escondido, but this dry cleaner has similar building construction and a similar mansard as you see right here with the tiled roof construction. Just kind of looking in here, I know this picture is very grainy, but you can see how much fire load is going to be in these fire cleaners and what resulted to an intense fire, kind of creating this collapse that ended up injuring this firefighter. So looking inside here, you have many textiles. You have shirts, shoes, leather, very fuel-driven fire that we're going to be dealing with. So this is the initial picture. This is approximately 3 to 4 minutes after the first crews arrived. As you can see, you have heavy smoke coming out of the roof of the structure here. You got attack lines coming into the Alpha side here, and the collapse is going to occur on the Bravo side over here of this mansard. So just looking at the mansard, you can see that you got the tile roof. It's an overhang. And we'll talk about some of that construction of the mansard and why that's a failing point on these structures here. So this is a very detailed plot plan that we came up with. We were unable to find a plot plan for the cleaners, so we had some hard guys work on this plot plan here. So as you can see, it's going to be an end unit of the strip mall. Many units throughout this commercial strip mall, but this cleaners was an end unit. And just looking at the point of references here, we have the Alpha side, which is the front, Bravo side, which is the left, Charlie side, which is the rear, and then you have the Delta 1 exposure, which the unit that was next to the cleaners was a gun store with a firewall in between. The collapse of the injury happened on the Bravo side of the structure with the firefighter engineer from that mansard. This is a drone footage taken after the collapse, after fire was under control. Just a better reference point here, kind of going back to that plot plan, you can kind of see how our drawing matches up with the drone footage. So just going back over that, you have the Alpha side here, Bravo side, which is where the collapse happened, and then that Charlie side, the rear, which had zero access because of a hillside with vegetation and brush, so unable to get to that Charlie side. Bravo side is where the collapse occurred. So just kind of using that as a reference as we move forward in your minds. So right here we're back on the ground. We got fire crews making attack with 1 3/4 lines, flowing the water into the structure. You can see the crews right here on the left hand side. This picture was taken at the time of the rescue. So the collapse had already occurred. We have heavy wooden structures, tile, and stucco now on top of the firefighter who's pinned down and unable to self-rescue. So now we had to initiate a rescue into this Bravo side while fire attack was still going on. So this is an after picture. So we'll look at the mansard here now that it's kind of like a gutted image. You can see that everything that's hollow here was that wooden structure with the gusset plates. That was the failing point, and also the heavy tile roof. Also within this mansard is a huge void space. So fire was able to get into that void space, fully engulf that area, and hit those weak points, which would be those gusset plates, resulting in the collapse over here in the Bravo side of the structure. This is way after the incident occurred. This is fire crews still trying to get control under the fire. So hazards of the mansard, as you can see, this is the construction of the mansard prior to all the rest of the stuff that goes up and kind of blocks what you can see. So let's just look at the gun store here. We got the gun store, nice sign. You got this nice mansard, looks like it's part of the structure, but then you fast forward to this slide, you can see all it is wood construction. Wood construction, just bolted up to the main building. So it's a large free-hanging, unsupported structure, combustible wood frame construction, open interior. Like I said, that void space allows fire to get into that space and kind of take off on its own. Very hard to stop those void space fires just due to getting access to that area. There's no fire blocks. It's just going to run the entire length of the mansard until you have failure at the weak points, which would be the gusset plates. So collapse factors. So right here we're going to look at, we got a gusset plate here. That's what connects our wood construction. And then we also have our joist hangers that connect the wooden construction. So extended burn time and exposure to the building is going to lead to failure at these weak points. This building was constructed in the 1980s. No sprinklers were put into the building. So once this fire got well established into the structure, it was under a heavy heat load and was able to get to those void spaces. Like I said, like Robert said earlier, the collapse happened 13 minutes after dispatch. This fire could have been well established for at least 5 minutes prior to anyone activating 911. So we're looking at over 20 minutes of well established, very fuel driven fire and intense heat that led to this collapse. This mansard is a free hanging structure. It's attached to the building with gang nails and joist hangers like you see here. Heavy stucco finish, concrete tile roof, which leads to a lot of weight on top of there. So once you start getting that failure, that weight's gonna take over with gravity. Failure of that mansard is likely due from that heavy fire load like we were talking about, which will compromise the roof. And so these are pictures of the actual where the mansard was on the building. So as you can see on the arrows, it's a close-up view of that Bravo side where the collapse occurred. The arrows show the location of the top and bottom connections of the mansard to the trusses. So that's where it was connected and where it came loose and fell this way towards the firefighter. So here's another close-up picture of the failed mansard roof trusses. You can see how they broke away there. The nails are sticking out of the wooden construction. If you look real close at the gusset plates where the wood's connecting to another piece of wood here, you can see that the gusset plate has been compromised. It's been torn away. Like I said, that's going to be the weak point for a lot of these wooden construction buildings and these overhangs. Something to look out for when we go to these structure fires would be these overhangs, because those should be the first thing if there's heavy fuel and fire that's going to fail and put us at danger. So here's another close-up picture of the wood roof truss showing the two toenails here that pulled away from the wall framing. So this is what connected that whole mansard to this structure. Those pulled away and then resulted landing on that firefighter. As you can imagine, this is a lot of weight and a lot of force coming down on a single individual that ended up resulting in some pretty serious injuries. So just going over the lessons learned from this incident, the firefighter was wearing full PPE, which consisted of full turnouts, SCBA, and helmet. He was trying to make access to that Bravo side of the structure, so he was fairly close to the structure when the collapse occurred, but there was no signs of structure integrity being compromised at that time. These things happen very quick, and something that we need to learn from moving forward. The crews use good radio discipline, and what I mean by that is when the structure collapsed, fire is still doing its thing. So there were still fire attack crews mitigating that problem while we had a rescue being mitigated on the Bravo side. So we had crews still fighting the fire on the Alpha side, trying to get fire control, and then we had crews mitigating the rescue and EMS for transport of the patient to the local ER. Mayday was called out effectively and very quickly by the firefighter engineer's captain. The captain was outside the collapse zone. When the collapse occurred, the captain had turned away, turned back to where the collapse had occurred. He knew that there's two firefighters there and was only able to count one. So he figured that the other one was under the rubble. So he called in a mayday, 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 firefighter down, roof collapse. And that was the initial mayday that was radioed through. The rescue was initiated. Fire attack was still underway. Everybody had prompt accountability. And the total rescue time was less than 2 minutes from the time that they had the firefighter freed from the rubble. So all in all, we need to make sure we monitor fire behavior and conditions, consider our building construction and age during all operations. These were older buildings. Something just to keep in the back of your mind when you're responding to these incidents, that we could have these collapses happening sooner rather than later. And make sure that everyone on the scene knows that they are a safety officer. If you see something, say something. And that's it for our Valley incident for our group project. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from this, and I hope you guys all have a good day. So we're excited. All of our information came from the Escondido Fire Green Sheet Valley incident. Incident number 2019-10-450 was the incident number. That's where all of our information came from, and then all of our images that weren't from the green sheet all came from Google Images.